Welcome to another episode of the Daily Pour. My name is Raj Patel, also known as the Bourbon Guru. Namaste. You know my quest for a unique bourbon every day without repeats. Today we're going to explore another part of my bourbon journey. This is where I start collecting the full sets of a particular brand. And we're going to start that with a brand that I love uh, to drink, to enjoy. I love the history of it, and that's E.H. Taylor's vertical series. So let's look at what this series contains. Originally started with Old Fashioned Sour Mash. This was a 2012 release that was followed by the Warehouse C Tornado. So this is a very special bottle. We're going to cover this in a different episode where the roof of Warehouse C was blown away, and then this was bottled after that. 18-year marriage, another great bourbon. It's a blend of three different bourbons. Still E.H. Taylor's, again, a wonderful bourbon. 4 grain was a bourbon that was made with the 4 different grains. You got the corn, the rye, the wheat, and the barley. Qdoc, I love this Qdoc version. I know a number of people I know love this expression. Emirath, grain of the gods, is I think very appropriately labeled. If God was going to drink a bourbon, this is a bourbon they would drink. Seasonwood was another great one. And then you had the last release in the vertical series. These were all released each year, and it was a one and done thing, other than the 4 grain, which was released in 2 separate years. But the last one of that was this Warehouse C, which is a famous E.H. Taylor warehouse. Now, they have these 4 expressions over here that are released every year. The first one is the barrel proof, uncut, unfiltered. And so this one is at 128 proof. It is the only vertical that is over 100 proof. Everything else in the series is at 100 proof, which is a tribute to the Bottle and Bond Act that E.H. Taylor was very involved with. There's a single barrel, which is one of my favorite of these 4. You've got the straight rye, and then you've got the small batch. The small batch, you can get it at the distillery. I would say pretty much every other day. If you go by, you can buy this at its MSRP. Another great sipper. I wish this is something that you could find on shelves at liquor stores, hoping soon. Then you have this very special one. It's called the Flood Edition. As you know, in 2025, Buffalo Trace experienced a historic flood. However, this is not a real flood edition. This is somebody did a single barrel, called it the Flood Edition. It also they did the barrel with the wax. So I thought that was very creative bourbon. One other release in this series is actually not a bourbon. It's an ale that E.H. Taylor did with the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. But this is another one that you can find. It's a dark ale. But what we're going to do today is a unicorn uh, pour, and that's the E.H. Taylor BTEC edition. So BTEC, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Never had the E.H. Taylor. Again, I wonder why it didn't, because to me, E.H. Taylor was a big figure in bourbon. I'm glad this year they released this one. I call this the universe. It was just released this year. Very hard to find and get your hands on. But here we are. We're going to have a little pour of the E.H. Taylor. I am going to sit down with this one because I did not want to drop my glass like I did in that second episode or spill a drop of this bourbon. So it's got appropriate yellow, and the cap has also been uniquely colored with the same yellow coloring. I'm giving myself a little hefty pour of this one. So let's take a little look at the smells. So this is interesting smells. I smell some vanilla, but I'm also getting some baking spice. Maybe on the back end, it's a little bit sweeter, more like a maple, less than a honey, I would say. So I would say more vanilla, baking spice, and maple. And let's give it a little taste. Wow, this is a great bourbon. Um, again, this was aged 18 years. So you can really see the depth of this bourbon, the quality. I would say in the middle, you get some oaky influence. There's some fruity notes to it, but I see more oak in the middle. Initially, it was a little cinnamon, nutmeg type of taste. And then on the back end, it's really definitely a vanilla caramel. Let's gonna try this again. Yeah, sometimes I like to swirl it in my mouth a little bit more. It kind of elongates the three phases and really gives you the flavors. Like on the back end, I'm still feeling the spicy cherry feeling. So when I did that, the spiciness stayed a little bit longer. Clearly that woodiness, oakiness in the middle, but more sweetness in the beginning. So again, great bourbon. I think Buffalo Trace hit it out of the park with this edition, this release. This will hopefully will be released every year with the BTEC collection, so we'll be able to try each year's version of this. I think this is a very well designed bottle. It's got the yellow cap, yellow sticker, and still 100 proof, 18 years. It's got E.H. Taylor's signature on it. Um, yeah, great bourbon. Cheers, everyone.